All right.
All right, welcome to another episode of Political Animals. Let's jump straight to it. We're going to be focusing on what's going on in Venezuela, but our angle today is going to be on Karina Karina Machado, who is expecting to waltz back into Venezuela and be the leader, but that's not going to happen. Trump has said she can't be the leader because she doesn't have enough support on the ground. That sounds dubious to me. I think he has other reasons for not bringing her in. So Trump is going to be dealing with Rodriguez, who is still proclaiming Maduro as the president, but has said that she's willing to work with the U.S. within legal channels to cooperate with certain things, which sounds okay to me. If you want to bring your oil companies to Venezuela and invest, you can't just come in and attack and kill people and seize the petrol. Whether or not Trump will work with her or try to seize it is another story. Also, whether or not she set up Maduro and the Venezuelan army set up Maduro to come in is also another question. I have a feeling that they sort of stood down. I'm not going to say they sold out Maduro, but it would have been futile for them to try to fight and stop Maduro from being pulled out. But today, what we want to do is focus on Machado and on what we think is the reason she's not being allowed to come back as president. I don't think it's because she doesn't have popular support. I think it's because Trump is smart enough to know that if you depose one president of Venezuela and you all of a sudden just bring in your candidate and put them in there like that, that will lead to a revolution within Venezuela in which the people will oust her and will go to war and fight. Whereas if you try to work with who's already in there that's a successor to Maduro, even though that's not what people would want, people might still deal with that if there's at least a facade that the person that they chose with their constitution is still in power rather than the U.S. just coming heavy-handed. So I think Machado is being thrown under the bus by Trump because it would cause a civil war in that country if they just came in and installed her like a president. Because no matter what anybody says, the people of Venezuela do have a revolutionary spirit, which they should even be fighting now. But to have them just handpick someone who was given a Nobel Peace Prize who has talked about U.S. coming and invading the country would have been too much for the Venezuelans to stomach. So we'll start with that. What do you think, Kunle?
We know that she won this her prize, her Nobel Peace Prize that she won was a bit of a piss take when you look at her values. She is not a popular person in Venezuela. She is deeply unpopular, and her values and principles are deeply unpopular, and they are seen as those of Western dominance. That is why, if she was to enter and she was to place her as president, it would cause a civil war.
Okay, but here's the thing. You're saying I'm not going to
Venezuelan people
dispute.
are
I'm not going to dispute.
actively
Okay, but what data or
against
what
her.
I'm not going to disagree, but here's the thing. The US and other countries are claiming that her candidate that she put in there won 67% of the population. It's also of the vote. It's also known that Maduro and those guys were trying to defranchise her. I'm not saying they were wrong, but if she doesn't have support, why does Maduro see her as so much of a threat? She and another question is, where's your data and stuff? Where do you get the information that she's very unpopular in Venezuela? I don't know because I don't live there. I don't have the data. Where's the evidence? What sources do you have?
Okay, I don't have sources, so I'm wrong to say that it's a fact. The reason that I say that, I make that assumption, which I'll probably need to verify to be properly sure, is because Venezuela is essentially a global South country and has also had protests. They've also shown a popularity
Yeah.
protest and movement against the actions of Gaza predominantly. Not all countries are culturally like that. India, not India, but there are some countries that that people are predominantly in support.
Yeah.
And when they've turned on that predominance in support, I don't have numbers. All I have is news.
Well,
And from what I've seen of the
here's
news
what
and
I
the
believe.
politics of South
She's a
American people, she
yeah.
would be. I would assume she'd be deeply unpopular. Let me call
Well,
it an assumption and not a fact.
her party came second in the elections, and I don't know if this is true. The Americans and outsiders are saying that Maduro didn't win that election. I don't know if that's true. They're saying that her party got 67% and the candidate she put there. I don't know if those numbers are true. Maduro claims he won by 80 something. That's probably a lie too, but I'm not concerned about that. But what I'll say is that she's a very contentious, fractious individual, but she does have a support because in Venezuela, there is a strong bourgeois class, which is clashing with the Bolivarian. The Bolivarians outnumber them, but when you go to big cities like Caracas and stuff, where you have the upper middle class and the rich, all of them support regime change because they don't want the country to be socialist. There's a strong right wing movement in Venezuela. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it has the popular support of the whole
Oh yeah.
country. So, but what we can say is that if Trump put her in office, it would cause, I'm serious, it would cause a civil war or it would cause an absolute shutdown of the country for sure. Because so whether or not, as you
Yeah.
say, if she's totally hated, but she's contentious enough. Whereas if you have the vice president and the vice president is still there as a leftist, but is moderate, so that Trump can make it look like a win and do business with her, and then the Bolivarian people will complain, but they won't, you know, they won't actually cause a war. Hopefully, I mean not hopefully, hopefully for America, because I hope they still cause it. But putting the
The reason why I think,
but hold on, let me finish.
sorry.
Putting the vice president Rodriguez, putting her as keeping her in office is the most is the less least volatile thing to do. So that's why I think Trump is letting her stay instead of Machado. Also, Trump is pissed off that Machado got the Nobel Prize, and he's just a bitch. So he doesn't want this woman to have fame by coming in. Yeah, what is your thoughts?
When the reason why I think that it would that I think that a lot of the people of Venezuela do not look upon her favorably is
Yeah,
because of the fact that she is basically a stooge of America, right?
yeah,
So
she is a
forget
stooge of
about the
America.
Israel Gaza thing. I don't know much
Yeah,
about Venezuela, but if I know that if you're pro-Israel, you're probably a stooge of America,
it makes
and
her look
it's
like a
exactly
traitor.
the same thing
Yeah,
for this. Yes. So that deep mistrust of the fact that she has shown herself to be deeply aligned beyond even reason, because you can be aligned with America without being a Zionist. And she's gone even to that extreme part of alignment that there is no way that any Venezuelan in his right mind would not believe
no,
that
yeah,
this is
and even
purely
the
in the interest of America. And then when
even the
America exhibits what it plans to do, those people that would have supported her or are supporting her will turn,
yeah, because
because
the
America
like
does not wish well for
yeah,
Venezuela.
because what happens is even the opposition party that's against Maduro is not happy about this because this is a an imperial move and an attack on the sovereignty of Venezuela. And Machado is so far against the government that she's willing to stab it in the back, like the way Judas did to Christ, to bring in and humiliate the country like that. She'd have no support of the people. I'll agree with that. There's not much more we can say except for yeah. Also, there's the fact that Trump. We know Trump does this. Trump will raise you up and bring you down. When he needed her, he had her. Now that he's gotten what he wants, he doesn't want Machado to have the spotlight. He wants the spotlight. What do you think? Yeah,
Yeah,
Trump is a
Trump
narcissist.
is. I think that a lot of what's going on with Venezuela is part of the U.S. military complex, and I think Trump is just having to do what he's told.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
In respect of what's going on there. I don't know about
But
this
but but
is
but here's the thing.
not I mean the
If
Nobel
here's
Peace Prize part I think is more humorous tongue in cheek because
yeah,
both of them
but
have
let's
no
think about it this
business.
way. What if it doesn't matter what placeholder they put in there, and they'll give Trump the right to just choose a placeholder? He could easily say, "I don't want that," because we know Trump is vindictive, man. We know.
Yes, we know
Although
he's vindictive. We
all of
know
it
he
is
spent
show, though. To be honest with you, you're right. It's all show. That's to be
yeah.
honest with you, it's all show. I don't think that's what really the reason is because of him being vindictive. But whenever he can, like what he did with Nigeria was just for fun. You get my point? It
Yes,
was just
what
for
he
fun.
did with Nigeria was really is because